Germany, France, and the U.S. are uniting with the U.K., rebuking Russia for the March 4th poisoning of 2 British citizens. Though the evidence seems to be piling up against them, Russia still denies any involvement in the nerve agent attack, which left a former Russian spy and his daughter in critical condition. Here's what President Trump had to say at the White House today.
It certainly looks like the Russians were behind it, something that should never, ever happen, and we're taking it very seriously.
All right, it's time to bring in syndicated radio host John Batchelor to talk more about this. John, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
All right, so what is your take on all of this? And did the president make the right move in acknowledging this? What happens from here?
Long list of suspects, long possibilities ahead of us to find out who did the nerve agent poisoning of the 2 British citizens, but it's important to note that they were at one time Russian nationals. This is a father and a daughter. The information about Skripal is incomplete so far. So before we find the culprits, we've got to find a motive, and we certainly have to walk backwards. Skripal and why he's in Great Britain. We're told that he was exchanged in a spy swap in 2010. What's the backstory there? And also, why is that Great Britain is not sharing the nerve agent poison details with Russia as Russia's required? What's the secret to what happened? If it's a crime, let's see the weapon.
Very interesting. I want to bring you guys into this. What are your thoughts about this? Is it still pretty murky?
It seems like the Russians are certainly behind this. I think Trump and the UK are taking the right steps here. They're both expelling diplomats, and we'll see what happens. But I think we've got to be strong, and it's terrifying.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, and Rob, what are your thoughts as a Democrat, right? Because so much of the complaint has been, oh, they're not enacting the sanctions, and now we've got the sanctions against the 26 from the Mueller probe, and we have these comments from the president against Russia, which were pretty strong.
He had to speak up in this manner. For him not to would have been a political disaster. I mean, that would have been his downfall in something so blatant. But again, this is the spy business. They're not going to give, Russia's not going to slap this guy on the wrist and go, "You're a bad boy." I'm not surprised by what's taken place. It's a dirty, bad business, and there's a double agent, and so. And again, do you expect Putin to go, "Yes, we did it. I'm guilty"? I think we have to be realistic about this, but there, as John said, there's a long list of things that have taken place, and we're not going to be judge, jury, and executioner right here. But obviously, the Russians did this, and they're bad actors, and they're bad people. They're not our friends.
Yeah, really interesting. Let's move on to a different topic, but staying with Russia. Today, the Trump administration leveled new sanctions against Russia for meddling in the 2016 presidential election. Officials say Moscow was behind a broad range of cyber attacks that began a year ago, targeting the U.S. energy grid and other critical infrastructure. Here's a couple of comments, actually, that we received on our Facebook page and on Newsmax.com. This one is from Sick and Tired of It All. He said, or she said, whomever, "I have never trusted Putin despite all the accolades he receives from American citizens. He is still a KGB officer at heart, and his goal is to bring back the Soviet Empire," similar to what Rob just said. And Southern Comfort writes, "One more Democrat talking point bites the dust. Now it won't be that sanctions have been increased, but that intelligence reports about Russia's meddling."
This is a very dangerous business. This is the new Cold War. Russia's a great power. This is not partisan politics. I am very reluctant to condemn Russia at this point about the poisoning in London. I'm also very reluctant to conclude that Russia's meddling deserves this level of enmity. Very reluctant. We're fooling around with another nuclear power that's at war in Ukraine and at war in Syria. This is not a parlor game, and I worry that we're rushing into this because it's convenient to villainize one man, Vladimir Putin. This is a great power. It's been a great power for 1,000 years. I do not treat it lightly.